marketing technology, or MAD tech, which stands for marketing and advertising. That's my particular favorite, that we call it in London. So we're going to talk about that, which is about a $1 trillion market. Slightly smaller than the professional services, but some people class it as professional services. So again, we've got 3 speakers. And first of all, to give his presentation is Philip Rooke. Philip, come to the stage. Thank you. You don't have a mic. Can we sort that out?
Hi.
Welcome, Philip. Mic'd up and ready to go.
Okay. So, do we have screens?
Your slides.
Okay, Spreadshirt. We are a merchandising company. We allow everybody to create, buy, and sell merchandising. Can we have the next slide? Do we have a clicker? So, can you next slide me?
Someone's taken the clicker. Can we sort that out?
Okay, I'm going to have to dance a picture. Any one of you could right now go online and create a t-shirt or a hoodie and buy it. But more excitingly, we enable over 100,000 people to put their ideas onto a marketplace. There's a lot of talented people out there with great designs around every meme and theme and thing that goes on in the world. And our final model, you could in 15 to 20 minutes create a white label shop, put merchandising for sale in it, and this is used by games companies, YouTubers, social media campaigns, even political parties, and put your merchandising for sale. And there's no minimum order, no financial commitment. If somebody buys one, we print it, we deliver it. We've become a global business. This year we've just crossed 100 million, so we're 100% growth from 3 years ago, and we are 10% EBITDA, so we've become a profitable merchandising company that actually delivers to over 180 countries. Now, that's a pretty complex business. When we double, I have to build more factories. I have to get more t-shirts made in Bangladesh. And at the same time, we have to keep upgrading our platform to be competitive with some 250 competitors out there. But we are in the top 2 or 3 in the world, and the only people who operate 3 models in one platform. We have a long way to go, though. If you think about internet users, they tend to own a lot of t-shirts. I'm looking at a sea of t-shirts and hoodies here. And in Germany, where we were launched, we are getting to 10, 11 t-shirts per 1,000 internet users. But as we cross the Atlantic and as we push out into the Anglo-Saxon world of the UK, Australia, Canada, we're still only selling 2 t-shirts. We've still got a long, long way to go. But to do that, we actually had to rebuild the whole company over the last 5 years, the entire tech, and get rid of all our legacy tech. We had to rebuild the team and create a team that was no longer students dealing with a startup, but become a highly organized international team of marketeers and operations people. So that's it. That's the world of global merchandising in 2 minutes flat.
Very good on timing as well. You may have noticed that Web Summit is very strict about timing. There's a very impending clock down here. So next up is Thomas Walle from Unicast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Thomas Walle. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Unicast. And let's give it a, here we go. Perfect. So location data is central and mission critical to some of the development of the most exciting technologies out there. This is a statement by SoftBank and is shared by an entire data industry. And why is that? It's because 70% of our awake time is not spent in front of our computers or on our smartphones. That is spent out here in the physical world. But no one has yet been able to capture and really understand how we move around in this space. But that is changing, because right now, the world is getting sensored up. With millions of sensors, our smartphones are collecting a massive amount of location data, which now can start to understand where do we move around, what kind of places do we visit, and what places, kind of cities do we also go to. And at Unicast, we are focusing on understanding all these different signals, location data, proximity data, so we can build the real-world graph, the connection between people and places. We kind of index the world just like Google indexed the web. And we do that by understanding lot of different signals, beacons, Wi-Fi, GPS, and NFC. We interpret all these signals in the Unicast platform, so we can start to get an understanding of human movements that market companies can use to advertise to people that have been to sports stadiums, research companies can use to understand people's patterns, and hedge funds can use to understand foot traffic so they can bet on the stock exchange. We've been growing significantly the last 3 years. We are the #1 thought leadership position in the space. We host our own large conferences to educate people about the location space. We've seen a 20% revenue growth month over month the last year. We collect data on 20% of the US population across 3 million venues, and we process 2 billion visits in total. And we do all of this because we believe fundamentally that tomorrow's companies will need quality location data at scale to build great products and to make the right decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And then finally, we've got Gabe Karp from 10up.
Hi, I'm Gabe Karp. I'm the head of Europe for 10up. We are a full-service digital agency, so we're a little different than some of the other companies up here. We have never taken any investment. We have been profitable since our first quarter. At the same time, we're different than most of the agencies out there, so we are fully distributed, and we have been since day one. We've built ourselves in the model of an open source software project. And we've done that because we believe that the best talent isn't in New York, Seattle, London, it's across the globe, and that we want to leverage that for our clients. So now the slides, I think, are maybe coming up. Basically, what we have been able to do is create not a network of freelancers. We're not just a bunch of people sitting at our desks in our homes. We are an actual 120-person agency. This isn't working, but that's all right. And so we're not disconnected. And what we have done is we've created a shared approach, a shared mission, a shared way of working for our clients. And we've been able to leverage that for clients across the globe who are primarily publishers, big media companies, financial services. And we build really powerful tools for publishers that kind of think about what is the right experience for the actual content creators, not just for the people consuming it. So so it's worked, and we've been able to grow the company very quickly. We are now 130 strong. We've had, over the last 5 years, an annual compounded growth rate of more than 90%. And we're able to do this because we're not focused on building out big offices. We're not focused on hiring the best people in New York and paying a premium for them in New York. We're focused on finding the best people wherever they are and leveraging them for our clients.
Thank you, Gabe. So just to kick off about the cash flow positive businesses like yours is, which is fantastic, Gabe, and it terrifies me because it's coming straight for our business as well. Slightly different approach when you're positive cash flow. What's your incentive for growth there? How'd you keep going?
So I think it really comes down to scaling the work we do for our clients. That's what fuels everybody who is at the company, and that's what fuels our growth. So what we saw very quickly was in order to service a company like Time International or Time Inc., we needed to be more than 5 people. We couldn't do that with 5 people. So we very quickly saw that to do the scale of work that we wanted to, we had to grow. But we also wanted to grow responsibly, and that was very much ingrained in how we decided to grow.
Do you ever feel like you could just want to take your foot off the pedal? You know, I can't be bothered this month to grow.
No.
That wasn't that convincing.
No. The challenges are fun. The work gets more and more fun every month, and so that's why I think we don't take the foot off the pedal.
And the other group that we had on the panel just a second ago said they love growth. They do it always again. So maybe, Philip, talk about the risks. So we never really talked about that, but what are the downsides of growth, and what are your big challenges that you've experienced?
The biggest problem, because I've done this in a number of companies, is complexity. You know, I have 1,000 employees, 3 different business models. Complexity grows all the time, and you grind to a halt. Because the faster you grow, the more people add to it. So our #1 company value is actually simplicity, and always looking to see how we can simplify to become faster.
And have you got any good stories about the times where that's really like manifested itself?
Yeah, when I walked into Spreadshirt, we had 5 classifications of meeting rooms, each of which had their own booking system, because that's what they imagined big companies did. Actually, I closed the meeting rooms and the booking system, and we have a piece of paper you can write your name on, and that's more or less it. But that is a level of complexity a company will get to really fast if you're not watching it the whole time.
I still haven't found. If there's anyone here who has a good meeting room booking system, please come and see me afterwards. But I do agree. And then Thomas, what about you? What's been the biggest risk to your growth?
I think it's more on the, given that we are a company in a very immature space, location data. Like very few companies out there today are using location data, but everyone now understands the value of it. So for us, it was so hard to educate the market and to take this very strong thought leadership position compared to Phil, which is in a established market, right? We were in a not established market. So we have had to invest so much money, so much energy in educating different verticals, educating our partners. And that is something that you won't see the ROI immediately. You can't really go in and do a conference or do a lot of educational prospecting towards clients and see the effect on your quarterly results. So you really have to bet that we're in it here for the long game, and you have to have some stamina. That's important. And know that the investment that you do now, when you are building a new category, it will come 2-3 years down the road. And luckily, we're seeing that ROI now, but it took us 2 years to get there.
So it's a big thing, isn't it? That I often like. You worked with a startup that just is about to exit at a very high valuation, and they call themselves a 14-year overnight success. And it's that point that growth takes a long time. It isn't. Some investors expect it to come immediately.
Yeah, and then I think it's important to have investors that believe in that kind of company building. Because we had a lot of investors that want to invest in company or in Unicast, but we saw that they were looking for a quick turnaround. They will push us very much on the MRR month to month. We knew that we had to establish the category first. We had to establish our supply partners of data. And then when the market started to mature a year ago, that's when we can start selling. And luckily, we have some amazing investors that have backed us on that journey. But I do see a lot of companies that fail in terms of bringing on the strategic investor that doesn't really get that stamina piece.
And everyone calls an investor strategic, right? So, but what do you have you said no to investors?
Oh yeah, many times, because they don't share that same mission, right?
Because they don't share the vision. Have you said no, Philip?
Yes, recently. And again, it's about, do they have the same view of where you're going and timelines? And critically, if you're talking to an investor, they want a 3-year out if they are in a perfect world. You have to get stuff perfectly right every single time to be out in 3 years. The truth is, whether you're in a brand new market like these guys or an established market like mine, you need time to get it wrong and work out what right is. And that means that in that 3 year, you're gonna mess it up a bit, then you're gonna get it right, and then you will accelerate away. And if they believe it's gonna be all happy sailing, you're in for a miserable time somewhere in the middle. So you've got to find an investor who's gonna go through that wave with you, knowing it takes 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 to get it right.
Would you look for investors, Gabe, or are you going to stay self-funded?
I think in the right situation we would, but really it's very important to us that we're doing the right work for our clients, and we're not going to sacrifice that in order to grow. And so I think it would have to be the right investor at the right time, and we would have to do it with a reason. And it would have to, yeah, it would be a very specific situation that we would look for that.
And just so I know, this word we keep talking about, growth, right? And I mentioned in the first panel, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make for growth. And it's really hard to get up in the morning and sort of start again each morning. But if you've got any advice for the audience here who might be investors or startups, what's the most important thing you've learned personally or for your company on your growth journey?
I think it's a balance, right? I always try to think about why we're growing, what the purpose of that growth is, and how we do that in a way that's responsible to our team as well as ourselves, and not get ahead of ourselves. And so that sometimes limits us from taking certain risks, but I think it also allows us to grow in a responsible way. And I think like both of you were saying, it's about taking the right time to do that. So we're 6 years old now, and we've grown very responsibly across those 6 years, and it hasn't been exponential growth, but it's been very strong, very responsible growth.
So what was the most important thing?
Being being cautious and smart about how you grow.
I think for us, it's been about having two growth strategies. One has been about making sure that we can have and this sounds strange, but short-term growth, making sure that we hit our quarterly goals quarter by quarter, because that's what really fuels that yearly growth that you see. But as well as to have the long lights on, to always think about what's coming the next 6 months, the next 12 months. And we weren't good enough on that in the beginning. I think every startup in the initial phase, they focus just what's in front of them. It took us some time to just look up and say, hey, okay, we have to focus on the numbers. We have to make sure that we deliver a good product to our customers. But we also have to make sure that we think about where the market is heading the next 6 to 12 months. So two growth strategies is what we've been successful with.
Okay, I am a growth guy. I don't know anything else but getting up to do growth. I'm not a t-shirt guy, as you can tell, yeah? When I joined Spreadshirt, I owned 2 t-shirts. I own about 10 now, but I own 20 suits, yeah? What I am is activating people. And for me, every single time I've gone into a team, a company, it's about empowering those people to move faster. Actually, I take a lot more risks. I let people go and make mistakes. And you have to get your team to run. So absolutely, after simplicity, my second biggest value is always empowerment. There is nothing worse, and I have watched companies die, than watching 50-year-old men sitting around a boardroom deciding how their wives and daughters shop and trying to govern your policy that way. Trust me, 50-year-old men know nothing about their wives and daughters. Yeah? Now, I have in my team lots of people in my target audience, and they spend their time talking to our customers. So we empower them to make decisions, move fast, and I got to reckon 20 to 30% of those things they do go wrong, but they achieve 10 times more, and that's why we're getting more growth than we can possibly handle right now.
So was that two lessons for the price of one, which was listen to your customers and take risks? Is that what you're saying? Take risks to grow.
Empower your team to take risks, and empower your team to listen and react to customers.
And then a question for oh, we're trying to fix the microphone. A question for you, Thomas. I had the pleasure of taking a taxi here with, strangely, the head of the German Competition Commission and the head of the Swiss regulator. In your business, it was a strange taxi ride. In your business, is there a constraint to growth, which is regulation? So one thing they said is privacy is a myth. Yeah. Do you find that's a huge cultural barrier to growth?
I wouldn't say it's no. I wouldn't say it's a barrier to growth. I actually see it's a barrier to entry, which for us will fuel our growth. Because there's no doubt that what we do, we collect location data. We collect data about where people spend their time in the physical world, and there are a lot of privacy regulations that comes into play when you deal with that kind of data. Everything is collected based on opt-in basis, etc. But it's something that we keep a close eye on. But we also make sure that we are one of the leaders in that space so that we create the barriers. So it's even harder for other competitors to come in and do what we do, because then they will have to invest so much time and money into making themselves privacy friendly. So we actually look at it in the opposite way, that it's not a showstopper for our business, it's an opportunity for us to grow faster and keep competitors outside.
Spoken like someone who's passionate about growth. He sees regulation as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, well, we have to frame it in that way, because we will never be able to run away from regulations, right? So we just have to make sure we can use the regulations to our advantage.
And then last one, maybe for the interest of the audience. So you're fast-growing companies. What market are you looking to grow into next? So let's go down the line. So Gabe.
For us, it's Europe. We're investing really heavily both in the UK and Europe and trying to establish ourselves here, bring the lessons that we've learned from the publishers in the US and bring them to Europe as best we can.
Thank you.
So we are a US-based company, focused only on the US, but our next market now, beginning of next year, will be London, UK.
And we're number 1 in Europe already. We're about number 4 in the US, so it's the US. So I'm coming your way. Sell me some data.
So some people are crossing mid-Atlantic, right? Yeah. So thank you very much to Gabe, Philip, and Thomas talking about their growth companies. And thank you for being very innovative with microphone sharing. That's all I can ask you for. Big round of applause for these three. Thank you. Thank you.